Let me start by saying that I welcome a debate on how we incentivise home ownership. I'm a Labour MP who wants more of my constituents in Welwyn and Hatfield to have a secure home of their own, to build a life in our community, and also for the ability to buy a home not to be so dependent on your access to the bank of mum and dad. The proposition we are discussing today from the benches opposite is that the abolition of stamp duty is the answer. Before we assess that claim, let's look at how we got here today. Home ownership went backwards under 14 years of the last Conservative government. There are 600,000 fewer homeowners in the UK than there would have been if home ownership rates had remained at the levels they were at in 2010. That's more than the population of Liverpool. 20 years ago, 50% of people aged 25 to 34 owned their own home. By 2022, this had fallen to fewer than 4 in 10. Madam Deputy Speaker, members across the House will recognise that that is a record of failure. I think they will also agree that there is no panacea for increasing the levels of home ownership and that it requires a range of policy solutions. That being said, there is one fundamental truth that we need to recognise. If you don't build more homes, you won't have more homeowners. The last government dropped mandatory housing targets, and I've lost count of how many MPs on that side of the House have used departmental questions, statements, and even today's debate to say, oh, I like the idea of homes in the right places, but it doesn't happen to be in my constituency. And I have to say the Liberal Democrats have been just as guilty as the Conservative Party on that. So where the Conservatives have failed, the Labour government is acting. The return of housing targets for every local authority, ambitious planning reform, and a record £39 billion for the Affordable Homes Programme. Do we have further to go? Yes, absolutely. But new housing starts in the first quarter of 2025 were up by 17% on the same period in 2024 when the Conservatives were still in power. So let's look more closely at the proposition that abolishing stamp duty is the answer. First of all, who benefits most? If your home is worth £1.5 million, you will save £93,750 under this proposal. As I intervened earlier, I said, if your home's worth £2 million, you'll save to the tune of £150,000, and it was cheered by the party opposite. And I think that's telling, Madam Deputy Speaker. Whereas if you buy a home that's worth under £300,000, then this proposal will save you no money at all. That's the threshold, by the way, that stamp duty cuts in at the moment, and 40% of first-time buyers buy homes that are worth less than £300,000. So the Conservative choice, the Conservative proposition, is to ask ordinary taxpayers to either accept, as my honourable friend said, deep cuts in social security, or to pay more taxes to subsidise a tax cut for millionaires. That's the proposition today. Liz Truss will be proud. We have no Reform colleagues in the chamber today, but I suspect they would be pleased as well, as, of course, their leader famously said at the time of the mini-budget that it was the best one since 1986. Madam Deputy Speaker, if we seriously want more homeowners, the real answer lies in building more homes of all tenures, in offering mortgage guarantees to help those who earn enough but can't raise the deposit to get on the ladder, in continuing to support low-cost home ownership models like shared ownership, in planning reform, and by embracing a new generation of new towns. In the first 14 months of being in office, this government has done more to make progress on identifying sites for the next generation of new towns than the Conservative Party did in 14 years. If your objective is to give millionaires a tax cut, abolishing stamp duty in one sweep is a good way to do this policy. But if you're more serious about helping people onto the housing ladder, we should reject the Conservative motion today, reject their failed approach over the last 14 years, and support a package of reforms to get Britain building again.